The League of Mirror Makers. The question of fate in transurfing seems clear. People have the freedom to choose their future through the alt space, which can be controlled using the principles of the dual mirror. However, it's helpful to explore this idea a bit further. Opinions differ. Some people think that fate lies in the hands of its owner, others believe that fate is predetermined, yet others go even further and view fate as a personal lot we are doomed to, delivered from above and determined according to our deeds in past lives. So, the question is, which point of view is closest to the truth? Of course, they all are. All these views are correct and equally well-founded. Could it be any other way in a world which represents a mirror? Everyone who stands in front of the mirror sees a reflection of their thoughts. There's no point asking the mirror if your life is destined to be happy or sad. The mirror simply reflects what is, and you become whatever you choose to see. Fate is a matter of choice, whether you accept a predetermined fate or create your own. It all depends on your belief. Whatever you choose is what you'll get. If someone believes their fate is fixed and unavoidable, then that belief will shape their reality. In the alt space, there's a path where life will go if you let it drift aimlessly. The person who feels doomed gives into their helplessness, blaming fate and waiting for misfortune to strike. But in reality, it's not the stars that control them, it's their own subconscious belief that keeps them stuck in a pointless dream. If you believe your fate is predetermined, you'll passively fulfill that scenario, making yourself a victim of your own self-imposed limitations. It's not so much written in the stars as stamped on their forehead, as they are the fool simply caught up in a pointless dream in which they've condemned themselves. When you take control of your life, it no longer depends on circumstances. Your boat can go in any direction away from the so-called fate. Life is like a river. With paddles, you can choose your path, but if you let the current guide you, you'll drift where it takes you. If you want karma, that's what you'll get. Believing your life is controlled by past mistakes or inevitable circumstances is the reality you create. But as the child of God, you have the power to shape your own fate. The dual mirror will reflect whatever you choose. It's all about knowing how to use it. This all makes good sense within the context of the transurfing model. The only unsolved mystery concerns the alternatives space. Who placed all that it contains into the alt space? Where does the alt space come from and why? And what existed prior to the alt space? To be honest, we don't know. We can merely put forward the following hypothesis. No one created the alt space. It had always existed. The human mind tends to believe everything in the world has a creator, beginning, and end. However, this isn't always true for everything. Even if human awareness was far beyond current limits, it might still not be enough to understand such things. The mind, though capable of abstract thought, is primarily a logical tool and cannot grasp everything. Our abstract thinking can only create a simple mathematical model. If we imagined a person's awareness stretched to infinity, where the awareness is just a dot, the question would become, why can I, a dot, be anywhere on this grid? Who created the grid? What's it for? And what was there before it? It's all beyond understanding. If you then told this dot about dimensions beyond the second one, it would be completely overwhelmed. It is easier to believe that fate is preordained by a higher power and that it can be calculated or foretold than to believe in the existence of some unfathomable alternative space that contains absolutely everything. Either way, no one likes to live with uncertainty, and so people try to get some kind of hint about the future, turning to astrologists, fortune tellers, and hierophants. This is also a question of choice. What is my intention? To know what to expect, or to co-create what I want? If you choose a passive approach, you'll rely on others who claim they can read the Book of Destinies, but can anyone really predict the future? Well, it turns out, yes, they can, thanks to the alt space. It's from this space that clairvoyants access glimpses of our past and future. Events don't develop randomly. The sectors of the alt space are connected in cause and effect chains or lifelines that follow specific laws. Now, how can these laws be seen? Evidently, by certain phenomena such as the position of the stars, dreams, card readings, or even coffee grounds or tea leaves depending on your preferred method of consumption. There's no such thing as coincidence. What we call coincidence is simply an effect without the full understanding of its cause. The alt space holds an infinite number of possibilities, so predictions are often inaccurate. There's no certainty about which film reel will play out, as any forecast is based on just a portion of what's possible. Predictions are only probabilities, not certainties. One of the most accurate was Bulgarian clairvoyant Vangelia Dimitrova, known throughout the world as Vanga. Losing her sight in her early years, Vanga acquired the gift of seeing in the alt space. Yet, even with her unique abilities, the number of accurate hits relating to the past as well as the future varied in the range of 70 to 80%. Prophecies can be distorted by the psychic's perception and interpretation. For example, Nostradamus' centuries is still interpreted in many different ways. People often read into predictions what isn't there or missing what is obvious. When Vanga foretold that Kursk would sink, no one could understand what was meant, for Kursk is located a long way from the ocean. Yet when the submarine of the same name sank, those who knew of the prophecy must have come out in goosebumps and their hair raised on their neck. If predictions are based on probability, how do we explain their relatively high accuracy? It's because once a prediction is in someone's mind, whether they want it or not, it becomes their intention, influencing the likelihood of it coming true. An individual's view of predictions and horoscopes is personal, shaped by a mix of belief and mistrust. People don't fully trust these things, and yet a part of them wonders, what if? The importance they give to predictions is minimal, often seeing them as a game. This creates unity between heart and mind, allowing a brief, clear image to form, which the world mirror then reflects into reality. Without realizing it, the person starts to manifest the prediction, which is why the accuracy is often higher than expected. Vanga's biography suggests that she shaped her future fate from a young age. As a child, she enjoyed healing her neighbors' children and telling captivating stories that enchanted her listeners. She also played a game where she would hide something and search for it blindfolded, feeling her way to it. Her vivid imagination created clear images which the world mirror then turned into reality. After losing her sight in an accident, Vanga became a healer and a clairvoyant. This would seem to contradict the model of transurfing. Might fate be predetermined after all? There's no real contradiction here. No one can influence another person's life with their own intention. Each person can only shape their own reality. Even when it seems like a powerful politician controls the fate of nations, they're actually just fulfilling the will of the structure that created them. Everyone can control their own fate, but only if they take charge. It depends on whether you take an active or passive approach. You can accept life as it comes, following horoscopes and seeing fate as something granted to you, or you can work hard and create a fate you wouldn't want. An active approach means not struggling against it, but instead controlling your thoughts using the mirror principles. Taking control of your fate gives you true power, making the need for a seer irrelevant. We're not saying all predictions are false, some are accurate. However, these services are only needed by people who live life like a subconscious dream. The majority of people do this. But if you choose to make your life like a lucid dream you can control, you won't need anyone else to shape your reality. And who are the astrologists, hierophants, and prophesiers if not mirror makers? Their predictions aren't just harmless forecasts, they become part of your fate, a piece of the mirror you'll eventually look into. Whether you believe in them or not, once you hear a prediction, it becomes part of your subconscious and shapes your future. Even if money isn't involved, did you think that you can glimpse into your future without a consequence? The price for looking into the book of fate is always the same. You must accept it and let it become part of your life, whether you want to or not. The cost of relying on predictions can be high. The responsibility doesn't lie with those who offer fate as a product, but with those who choose to buy it. When you seek a prediction, you're simply getting another mirror and asking if it's okay to smile in it. You already have your own mirror, the layer of your world through which you can create anything. With your own mirror, you are free. You can turn any defeat into victory with the will of the maker, and you don't need a psychic prediction to do it. If you don't want to be the maker of your own reality, you can rely on mirror makers. This is a choice and a way of living, a safer path through the stream of fate. Predictions can serve as signs that give warnings of possible unfortunate events, and they can instill you with hope of success. In this sense, the mirror makers fulfill a helpful role, although perhaps not all of them. The most harmful among them are those who foretell events of a global scale. By predicting forthcoming catastrophe and the end of the world, they attune large groups of people to destructive thinking, or in other words, they program the collective consciousness. This will inevitably leave its mark. What is interesting is that scientists are also part of the League of Mirror Makers, although they do not necessarily have a direct impact on the fate of others. Over the course of human history, scientists have worked on the one task of trying to explain how the world works. Once, the Earth was flat and rested on the hump of 3 whales, an elephant, and a turtle, or something like that. In former times, the stars rotated around the Earth. Many centuries have passed since then, and some things have become clearer, but the process of trying to find a model that fits continues as before. Classical physics has been replaced by quantum physics. Objects of the microworld were first declared particles, then turned out to be waves, who had no objection to being particles from time to time. Then came another theory telling us that these obscure objects are neither waves nor particles, but strings in 10th dimensional space-time. The world stands in the fitting room and agrees with this model too. Even then, something did not quite fit. Something was not quite right. Scientists were forced to add one more dimension, the 11th dimension, as a result of which a supernova M theory is born, according to which the string is transformed into a membrane. It is amusing, is it not? What will they think of next? No doubt this process will continue for infinity. Ever new models will be found to replace the previous one. If you stand in front of one mirror and hold a second mirror in your hand, you will understand why the world has an infinite number of models. In the mirror in front of you, you see yourself holding a mirror in which there's a reflection of you in a mirror holding a mirror in which, well, you see. Perhaps there is no answer to the question of how the world works. Within the context of the human mind, if one were to climb to the top of the most abstract peak in our range of definitions, we would see that the world does not actually look like anything. It is simply a mirror of our ideas. We get what we think about the world. The most we can confirm with any confidence is that reality is multifaceted, and then state a few of its laws. Scientific research works like the mirror's example. When you start with one natural phenomenon, you create a specific model, like a piece of the mirror. When you place that piece in front of the main mirror, you see a new aspect of reality. If you look at a part of that new aspect, you get another version of reality. This process continues with each new mirror reflecting another version of the image before it. So, what does the world really look like? You can try and imagine what the world is really like using an example of 2 identical mirrors placed opposite each other. Each mirror reflects the mirror that is placed in front of it. Both mirrors give the reflection of nothing reflected an infinite number of times. It is a black infinity of images in which nothing is reflected from nothing. Does this picture fit any description provided by the concepts the mind has at its disposal? Hardly. To sum up, the pendulums of mirror makers don't care about your fate. They focus on their own interests, which is getting energy from their clients. People often want to know what tomorrow holds, so they turn to the well-informed for guidance, giving up their energy in return for a fabricated piece of fate. If someone's attention is caught by a pendulum that deals in fate, they won't feel secure until they check their horoscope or have their dream interpreted. They become addicted, like to a drug, needing constant reassurance while the pendulums thrive. Transurfing does not require the same source of energy supply. Once you understand the principles, you can use them however you like. Knowledge itself isn't a pendulum only exists when a structure is created around it. Transurfing doesn't explain how the world works, it simply provides a practical model to show you why and how reality can be controlled. It's like being able to drive a car without knowing how the engine works. Transurfing's goal is to give you the driver's license. From the alternatives model, it follows that man can really create his own destiny. In transurfing, the concept of fate differs from other more widely accepted interpretations. Now, dear maker, you have a dual mirror a bit like a genie that makes your wishes come true, except that it is not a fairy tale anymore. It is an aspect of reality that had perhaps remained hidden from you until now under the cover of routine. Unlike the genie in the fairy tale, you cannot command the mirror genie. There is no point in making appeals to the mirror genie or seeking their compassion. Yet, as soon as you declare your intention, the magic mirror will willingly comply. Okay, my dear. You are the true maker of your fate if you intend it to be so. Do not give your fate away to the mirror makers.